Hello everybody, welcome back. So, welcome to a cool, blustery Shropshire, UK. And for the last sort of 4 or 5 nights now we've been getting some cooler temperatures, down to about 5 degrees, and it's staying relatively dry. We are getting a bit of rain here and there, but it's been quite windy. And it's not stopping me getting out in the garden, but some warmer weather would be nice. However, I think today I am going to put some more plants out in the ground, and I've checked the forecast for the next week, the next 7 days, and the lowest temperature we're going to get down to is 4 degrees for a few hours on a couple of nights, but mainly we're sort of staying at night time 5, 6, 7 degrees, and daytime temperatures around 9, 10, 11. So it's still, it's not really cold, it's just a bit cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out my peas, and I've got 2 varieties of peas growing. One is Munch Two, and they really do need putting out. They're probably the best part of a foot tall now, so they're getting a bit straggly in the cold frame. And the other variety is Marrow peas, because that's become a personal challenge for me to try and get these things to grow, because it started as fun last year, because they're the peas that you make mushy peas from, and failed miserably last year. I have got them to germinate this year, so I'm going to put those out, and they look totally different to the Munch Two, and I'll show you the difference. But yeah, you can definitely tell that they're a completely different variety, and they should be fine because they're cold tolerant plants. They're quite hardy, and from my research, peas are good down to about -2. Not for massively long periods of time, but they can take a frost and what have you. So not that we've had a frost yet. Even though we've got down to 3 degrees one night, we didn't actually have a frost. So I'm going to put them out, keep my eye on the weather, and if we're getting the frost warnings, etc., then I will put a bit of fleece. I'll just wrap them up. But I think they're going to be okay. They're cold tolerant, so that's what this video is about. What we've got here are Munch Two peas, and so these are, I think the other name for them is sugar snap peas. So you don't shell these or pod them, you just eat the whole pod, and that's why we grow them, because it's a lot less work and we really like them. And as you can see, roots are now coming out the bottom of the pots. They're getting quite tall, they're starting to tangle up with each other in the tray, and they really need planting out. So I'm going to get those put out. And then these are the Marrow peas, and as you can see, desperate to be put out. And I chittered these and did do a video on how I did that. I'll put that in the description, a link to that video. So they're the two different peas I'm going to put out, and as you can see, totally different in shade of green. The leaves are slightly different, and the Marrow peas seem to grow quite a lot slower as well. So that's what we're going to do first. We'll get the Munch Two in the ground first, and then we'll do the Marrow. So I'm going to plant the Munch Two, some in this bed and some in that bed, growing up these little sticks until they can get onto this netting. And that's what I did last year, and worked really well. And they actually went past this netting, and that's what these bits of string are for. They went probably up to about 5 foot tall. So worked well last year, no problems with disease, so we'll do the same this year. Now I did put broad beans in this bed, sown direct, and that bed, and I can't see any sign of them at the moment. Something's been digging in here, and I suspect that a rat or a mouse has come along, dug up the beans and eaten them. So I think what we might do in this video as well is see how many broad bean seeds I've got left and start some off in pots. I really didn't want to do that, but I think I'm going to have to. Anyway, let's get these Munch Two in the ground. Plenty of roots. I'm just going to plant them the same depth that they came out the pot. Give them a little bit of a firm down, and then try and get them started on the cane to save them getting blown around too much by the wind. And this bed's had my homemade compost put on them. That's why it looks a bit woody, but I don't think that's going to bother the peas. And once we get sort of past March, I'll sow the peas direct. I won't bother putting them in pots. This was really just to get them started in the early part of the year. You do need to be careful with the stems though. It's very easy to bruise them. And if you're growing peas like this and they are tangling themselves up, you can just snap off the little tendrils where they'd latch onto each other. See, I've broken that one. Oh well. What it will do is this will probably become the main shoot and it will carry on. So I'll take that off and we'll leave it be. But yeah, you can take the little tendrils off just to untangle them, and then they'll carry on. The biggest problem I find with growing peas is slugs. There we go. I'm not going to water them. It's pretty damp. So I've got 4 more. We'll put those in that bed, and then we'll get on with the marrowfat peas. Now the marrowfat peas I'm going to put in this raised bed that I made, and I tried to grow them here last year, but in little plastic troughs. And in the beginning of the year I didn't have the guttering on the shed, and so I think they just got totally swamped out with water. And as when I got the guttering on the shed, it was really a bit late in the year. It was too hot to try and grow them, so it was a complete washout last year, literally. So I chitted these, got them growing, and they're doing really well. So I'm going to put them in here again. Much better growing conditions for them, much bigger bed, a lot more soil volume, and it will be easier to keep the soil moist as well in the hot part of the year, rather than the little plastic troughs which dried out, ironically, after they got swamped. So yeah, it was a complete disaster last year. So I think I've got 40 or so here, and the idea is to grow them up this netting, and to space them out equally, what I'm going to do is put one at this end, then I'm going to put one. You can see these are tangled up. If you just pull them apart, don't worry if the tendrils break a little bit. The tendrils are the little wispy things that they use to latch on to stuff. And then I'm going to put one at this end, then I'm going to put one in the middle. Oh, creeping buttercup, it is everywhere. So one in the middle, and then divide those distances in half again. And then divide those distances in half, and just keep doing that until I've got them spaced out equally along the bed. I just find it an easy way of spacing things out equally, and better than just starting at one end and then finding that you've got big gaps. And they're going to be pretty close together, but that's fine. Peas haven't got a problem with that. That one's looking weak, so I won't put that one in just yet. So as you can see, That one could go that way a bit. And then divide those spaces again. So they're going to end up about 2 inches apart probably. So pretty close together. And this fence should be a wall of green and hopefully lots of peas on it. And then we're going to have a lot of shelling and podding to do. But I do like peas, we all like peas in this house. And mushy peas especially. So later in the year we may have a cooking video coming out. How to grow mushy peas. Cook mushy peas. I can certainly do a video on how to eat them, that's not a problem. So we're now, I've got 2 left. So 3 with the weak one. So I'll probably just shovel these up a bit. 1 in there. We'll squeeze another one in at that end. And we'll put the weak one in as well somewhere. Obviously the runt of the litter. And that one can go in somewhere there. So out of that tray, 40, I had 4 that didn't germinate. Even though I chitted them, so I planted them. In fact, that one looks like it's just coming up. But probably not worth pursuing now. So what I'm going to do is get some compost and we'll get these planted. So what I'm going to do is use shop bought compost to put these in. And I know I've said on many videos that I won't use shop bought compost on my beds, but I don't really regard this as a bed. I regard it more as a pot, and if there was a problem with the compost I could quite easily dig it out and replace it. When I refer to not putting shop bought compost on the beds until I've grown in it, I refer to the beds actually on the ground, because that's a lot harder to deal with. These have certainly got a lot of roots. Definitely need potting on or planting out. They're desperate for it now. At the bottom of this bed is just some decent garden soil. That's all that's in there. Pull these weeds out. Just go along here, get them all planted. No need to water them, I don't think. they're quite damp. This compost is quite damp, and I'm just going to try and hook them around the mesh, just stop them blowing around and let their tendrils get onto the mesh, and once they've got hold of it, they're really quite solid. These roots are really stuck in the pots. So I'll go along and get these put in, and I shall bring you back when I've got them done. First bumblebee of the year. Come to investigate the peas. I'm really pleased with that. That was a very enjoyable 20 minutes, half an hour, just relaxed pace putting those in. I really enjoyed it. So hopefully they'll settle in. Excuse me. And the weather will be kind enough to let them flourish. Now, fleecing these would actually be quite easy, because I can, using some clothes pegs, I can attach it down to the bed and the frame, the mesh. So protecting these isn't going to be a problem. And like I say, they're pretty cold tolerant anyway. They're not going to have a problem down at 5 degrees. And they've been in the cold frame for probably 3 weeks now. And I'm sure on a night time, the temperature in that cold frame isn't much different to it is out here anyway. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And I'm pleased with the way the bed looks as well. It's not perfect by any means, and it will need redoing again, I'm sure, in a couple of years, but it was just scrap wood, so no big drama there. And I just need to find a couple of little baby strawberry plants to put in the pockets that I made on the front, just so that they can hang over. And that'll be quite a nice little bed when all this is grown up and it's all green with lots of pea pods hanging on it. I don't know what sort of flowers these have. The Munch Two that we grow are normally a sort of a white flower, but we'll see when it's all out in bloom. It could be very nice. Pleased with that. So I'm just gonna put some more broad beans in, I think, and because I think the rat has probably eaten the ones I put in the ground. So I'm just going to use these module trays. They're quite big, probably 2.5 inches deep, because broad beans put down a big root, and as soon as these start to come up and they've got a couple of leaves, I'll put them out, because I don't like keeping them in pots because the root coils up in the bottom of the pot. So I'm just going to push them down about 1.5 to 2 inches, and I'll just leave these trays in here until they germinate. Obviously they don't need any light until the plant comes up. And I think I've got 22 seeds, so that'll fill those 2 pallet collar beds that I wanted to have broad beans in. We really enjoyed them last year. They were nice, and we actually froze quite a few of them and just ate them throughout the year. And we only did one bed last year, so we should get a few more. And this is quite damp, so I probably won't water them. Give them a water in a few days when the compost's dried out a bit. And these are variety Masterpiece Green Long Pod. Where did I get to? Lost me. There we go. I think I've done that tray. Yeah. So I'll be two seeds short to finish these modules, but that's okay. And this is just plain shop bought compost. So there we go. That's some more broad beans sowed. So that about wraps this video up, guys. My battery's about to die on the camera, so I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet and you like this sort of content, then please do subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and that really helps the channel too. And if you do fancy supporting the channel a bit more, there's various membership options down below under the join button, and there's also a link down in the description if you'd like to buy me a coffee. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.